Alright, what's up? How you guys doing? So today I want to talk about some of the reasons why you would not want to live here in Colombia. I've been doing a lot of consultations lately. A lot of people ask me what life is like here in Colombia. There's a lot of things after living here for some time you start to see. For me personally, it has frustrated me. I think it may frustrate you as well. One of my subscribers sent me this Reddit post lately that said there's like 7 steps that all expats go through when they come and they live specifically like Medellin or just Colombia in general. It's like the honeymoon phase in the beginning, and then each phase you start to see how the country really is. I read a stat somewhere that 90% of expats that come to Colombia end up leaving, and I would believe that. Like, Colombia is really cool to visit, and on the surface it looks really good especially when you go to places like Medellin. It's a beautiful city. There's a lot of fun things to do. Most people, after they stay here for an extended period of time, they have gotten robbed at some point, or they know someone who've gotten robbed on the street. You know, someone pulls a gun out on you and then they try to get your phone or your wallet. Does this happen so frequently? A lot of people forget that Colombia is still a Latin American country. If you talk to any Colombian, they'll tell you that, yeah, even though Colombia is really beautiful, it's very unsafe. You can't move the same way here as you would back in the States or in Europe or in Asia, because Latin America, I always like to say, it's like the Wild West, for better or for worse. The police won't like bother you for like stupid stuff the way that they do in the States, like not having a seatbelt, maybe speeding a little bit. Traffic lights are more suggestions sometimes than like actually having to follow the rules. But on the flip side, it means that organization isn't as good and justice isn't served the same way that we would expect back in the States. No matter where you go in Colombia, here in Manizales, they say it's the second safest city in Colombia, but there are still some parts of the city and just moving around in Colombia in general where you don't want to be taking out like your super expensive laptop or be walking around in a chain. I am still offering consultations if you guys are looking to move here to Colombia. If you want to talk about anything, hit me up here, shoot me a DM. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of a good thing. You know, I like not having to focus so much on material stuff, so I could just wear like a hoodie like this and like sweatpants every day. Because I'm a foreigner, I look so obviously different that I don't want to give the image that I have money. So for me personally, it works, but I know there's some people that like being flashy, that like walking around with chains. And unfortunately, Latin America is not the place to do it because that just puts a target on your back. So the next thing you need to worry about is how often scams happen here. There's a whole women and Tinder thing, and I'll talk about that later. But I mean, just with like real estate companies, that's a really big scam going on right now. Everybody talks about gringo prices, but I recently saw a post. A guy was getting charged 2 million Colombian pesos just for a consultation to deal with like his immigration papers. Most foreigners don't speak any Spanish. It's really hard to say if we're getting a fair price or not. Foreigners have a really bad reputation for coming for sex tourism, not being the smartest, and putting themselves in bad situations, to be honest. So a lot of Colombians are constantly looking to take advantage of them. Real estate scam happened to me. They asked for a deposit when apparently paying a deposit is illegal. I opened up a court case with them. Looks like they shut down. I'm not going to get my money back. I didn't really know anybody to help me through it. There's also a lot of lawyers looking to take advantage of foreigners. I saw a quote somewhere that's like Colombia is like 60% really amazing people, but 40% really bad people. I feel like that's a pretty accurate assessment. The way that justice works here and the way the whole system is, there's a lot of bad people here. And you have to always know how to move. Even like if you're trying to buy a house or you're trying to buy a car, the thought in the back of all Colombians' head that this could always be a scam. Colombia nowadays has a reputation for the women. I actually think it's always been there, but I definitely think more so now because all of these YouTubers trying to like sexualize the women here and talk about how Colombians like the haven for men, even though it's all 100% BS and most of these guys don't speak any Spanish. The prevalence of Tinder scams, most of the women that you meet on dating apps are going to be 1, single moms, or 2, prostitutes. And it's crazy because I get DMs like this every single day. All the consultations that I do, the story is always the same. The guy is talking to a girl who's way out of his league, and the girl almost always has kids, or the girl's a prostitute. And guys will hit me up all the time saying like, hey Wes, I want your opinion. Can you tell me if this is real or not? Is this girl a scam or not? And they send me a picture of this girl who's like way out of their league or super hot, and I'm just like, dog, use your common sense, man. If you can't pull this back in the States, what makes you think you can come to Colombia and pull it here? And unfortunately, that's what goes through most guys' heads nowadays. You know, they think that Colombian women are super easy. They're gonna love me just because I'm American. It doesn't matter. I don't have to make a ton of money. I don't have to be fit. I don't have to be a good, ethically sound man. And a lot of these men are leading with money, which attracts the wrong kind of women. I think Colombian women make great partners. There's a lot of women that still believe in those traditional roles, but you just have to know where to look. And unfortunately, most men who come here are not going to be able to get that kind of woman. Number 4, the bureaucracy. Trying to get anything done here in Colombia is such a pain in the butt and you have to walk through so many hoops just to get everything done. I was able to start a business here, but I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't know people. It's a very disorganized country. And you can go to some areas of Colombia where the infrastructure is very good. You know, you pay some tolls and it's all good. If you go into the city, a lot of the roads are completely destroyed. It seems like there's always construction being done, but it never gets done on time. The city is always collapsed, and there's a lot of corruption in Colombia's government and everything, and it's kind of something that everybody talks about and everybody knows about, and it's just a part of like something in Latin America. Obviously, I mean, corruption is pretty common amongst all governments, but I think like in Latin America, I don't know why, it feels like it's baked into the culture. As great as like the food is here, being able to go buy produce from the street and it's extremely cheap and abundant and fresh, like that's such a blessing. I think Colombian food is better than American food, but Asian food is just the best out of everything. Not having access to really good Asian food, to like some kimchi, some good Chinese food, to me is a really big deal. I mean, obviously I have to live here because of my wife, and hopefully more Asian food comes in the future. That's definitely a con, and a lot of people complain about the food all the time, and I definitely think it's a fair complaint. The food in the coast, like the seafood, is actually fire, super good. You know, Colombian has certain spots where the food is really good, but for me, like eating Colombian food every single day is not the same as like Asian food where I can eat that every single day. But obviously I'm Asian, so you know, I'm biased in that. Another reason why you may not want to live here is because that in order to live in almost 90% of Colombia, you need to learn some basic Spanish. Medellín is very different than the rest of the country because you can meet quite a bit of English speakers there because they cater towards foreigners. And I guess like Cartagena as well. But for the rest of Colombia, 99% of Colombians do not speak English. So if you want to live here, you're gonna have to learn how to at least get by with Spanish, right? A lot of foreigners don't want to take the time to learn the language. How are you gonna move to a new country and not learn the language? I think it's very disrespectful. I highly recommend it because I think, one, it gives you an edge just living here. It helps you better understand if something is a scam. It helps you move better. It helps you date better as well, which if you hang out with enough locals, you're probably gonna get it anyways. If you are looking for lessons in Medellín, I have a partnership with a school called Elefun. They do online lessons as well as in-person lessons. If you let them know I sent you, I get a small commission for that. It's a way to take lessons and help the channel. It's a school that I personally went to. I can personally attest to the success. Another small thing is that Colombians are not very punctual. For me, a man's word is very important. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. And unfortunately for Colombians, they're a lot more fresco or like fresh about it. They'll say, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then they'll arrive like an hour late. They'll just kind of take their times with things. They call it like incumplido. It's very, very common amongst Colombians. It's a part of the culture. I don't like it personally, but it's just something about the culture that you have to accept. At the end of the day, you know, I still love living here in Colombia. I think it's still way better than the States in a lot of ways. The US is rich in material goods, but poor in culture, and the people are just the worst. I think Americans all around the world have a reputation for being extremely crappy people, whereas Colombia is not as rich in material things. There's a lot of lifestyle changes that are worse than the States, but the people here are the best. The women here are beautiful, some of the most beautiful in the world, that make great partners. There's just a lot to love about this country, but I think too many people focus on only the good stuff, and I think it's important to also know some of the cons. Let me know if I missed anything. What do you guys think? Are there things that you agree with, things that you disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you later. Bye.